Welcome to the Undercovers cast. This is Ben and Connor tonight. Paul is working, so we decided to go ahead and roll without him. We got a lot to talk about on or from Sunday's game. We could also get to some of the other games this week because
Oh yeah, there were some there were
it's
some
only week
games.
2, and it was still complete madness between the Cowboys and Giants playing one of
Oh
the
God,
best regular season games you'll see, to the Colts of all teams being the leaders of the pack in the AFC South through 2 weeks. Houston's 0-2. Speaking of the AFC South, and then Joe Burrow
oh
could be out for up to 3 months. So we got a lot to talk about tonight, Connor. I
oh yeah.
guess that since we don't really have a outline tonight, we can just go ahead and skip the quick takes unless you had something you really wanted to talk
Well,
about.
there are some things, yes. So
I
it's
mean, we can
funny.
we can just talk about
Yeah,
week
some
1 and make or week 2, sorry, and just make that like our quick take segment
well,
for the
yeah,
night.
some very brief takes. That's all it is because there's
Right.
definitely been some funny things that happened around the league. The fact that the Colts are 2-0 with Daniel Jones is kind of mind blowing. I don't think anybody really expected that, but their game against Denver last week was actually fairly crazy, especially considering that the Colts won on a penalty that allowed them to retry that kick, and
Yeah.
they got it. That was big. And yeah, you were right about the Cowboys and Giants. I did not think that game was going to be any good, but turns out it was. Seems like there's always that one year where the Giants and Cowboys combine to give us a stinker of a game that winds up being a very high scoring game just because. But I feel like you might already know what I want to talk about in regards to random quick takes. What do you think about what happened in the Seahawks versus Steelers game late in the fourth quarter when Caleb Johnson, the rookie out of Iowa, literally forgot the rules of football?
Yeah, so as a Bills fan, watching that actually count as a touchdown is kind of infuriating because if you recall in the 2019 NFL playoffs, the exact same happened the exact same thing happened in the Bills Texans game, and they ended up calling it as a touchback,
Really?
and the game ended up going to overtime, and the Bills lost that game. Not that they I believe they would have either played Kansas City or I think it would have been Kansas City or Baltimore. I forgot if we had a higher seed than Tennessee, so I'm not sure if we would have ended up playing Baltimore or Kansas City the next week. But regardless, the exact same thing happened to the Bills, and the NFL took that touchdown off the board. They ended up losing in overtime, and I'm like, really? Like
Mhm.
they the one time they actually call that, which it is the rule by the way,
It
that
is now.
if it lands in the end zone, it's a live ball. So
Mhm.
you got to give some props to Seattle just for the heads up play there on special teams, but also what the heck was Caleb Johnson thinking? I know there's going to be rookie mistakes, but that was a big mistake to say the least.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about Miami, but they're 0-2. I
Oh,
actually would
Lord.
have preferred them to probably win that game, even though I still think the Bills should take care of them. But I would
I guess
rather play. I would rather play an a a 1-1 team versus a 0-2 team, because an 0-2 team is gonna be completely desperate going into that game. So I
mhm.
would have rather faced a team that's not fully desperate yet. But we'll get into that game more in a bit. And last night we had some very interesting games as well. That
Mhm.
Texans Buccaneers game was about as good of a game as you could have
Oh,
asked
yeah.
for. The Texans might be in trouble here because they're already 0-2 to start the gate, and I'm not sure if the Colts can keep up the pace. But I know the Colts play Tennessee this week, so they have a good shot of potentially starting off the season 3-0, whereas the Texans go to Jacksonville and Jacksonville should honestly be 2-0 if we're being honest, because after Burrow went out, I mean, they were in control of the game when Burrow was playing,
Mhm.
and they really gave that game away, in my opinion.
They did.
I
They
agree with the
absolutely did.
decision to go for it on 4th down just because Cincinnati ended up scoring a touchdown anyway, so had they kicked a field goal, it wouldn't have ended up mattering. So Liam Cohen made the right decision, but what is going on with Brian Thomas Jr. to start the year? He does not look like the same guy from last season. And I mean, I'm willing to chalk it up to it being early in the season, but not a great start for him. Trevor Lawrence looks decent, but just speaking of that game quickly, the Texans really need that win because otherwise they're starting out 0-3, and if you start out 0-3, your chances of making the playoffs are really slim at
Mhm.
at that point. And they play Tennessee the next week at home, which should be a winnable game, but then they go at the on the road to play Baltimore, on the road to play Seattle. They play San Francisco at home, and I'm not sure what version of San Francisco they'll see with all the injuries the San
As
Francisco have,
usual.
but the way that their run defense played yesterday, you got to think that if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, even without a Brock Purdy, that they should be San Francisco should be able to move the ball
Mhm.
at will on them. Then they
Oh,
play
for sure.
Denver, which is still going to be a tough game. Then they play Jacksonville, Tennessee, Buffalo. So we play them November 20th, and then they go to Indianapolis, which is going to be I think a pivotal game
Mhm.
for that division. As if the Colts win that game, I think there's a good chance. I mean, I actually said I didn't really make official predictions this year, but I said the Colts were a team to watch out for because if they just got adequate quarterback play by Daniel Jones, they have enough talent on that team where they could actually make the playoffs, and that's what we're seeing so far
Mhm.
from Daniel Jones and the Colts offense. Jonathan Taylor looks like he
It's
did.
still him.
Yeah, he's still him. He looks like he did though back in 2021 when I believe
Yeah,
he led
when
the league in rushing, or if not, he was number 2 behind Derrick Henry.
yeah,
But
when he and Derrick Henry were literally rivals, like, neck and neck with each other all year because they were just both that good. It was actually kind of astounding to watch. But,
and I mean, and then how about all the injuries to the quarterback position? I know I talked about
yeah,
Burrow already, but JJ
Joe Burrow.
McCarthy, who
Yep.
has looked kind of shaky to be perfectly honest with you through 2 weeks, he went down. So
Brock Purdy's hurt. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot
as
of quarterbacks
I
that
already
are hurt.
mentioned, and Jane Daniels may not play either Sunday. So you have at least four backup quarterbacks on the mound.
Yep. It's not good for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
But, real quick though, I do wanna tell you one thing that I think you might find interesting. So you remember how earlier, Ben, you were talking about teams that start 0 and 2. You know, the potential I don't think that a 0 and 2 team has made the Super Bowl since early 2000s era, I wanna say, and I think that was the 2006 Pittsburgh Steelers when they played the Seahawks in that Super Bowl when they were the 6th seed. I think that was the last time someone made the Super Bowl from a 0 and 2 start. But if you want to think about it real quick, think about who your 0 and 2 teams in the AFC are right now. You got the
right.
Texans, the Dolphins, the Titans, the Browns, the Jets, oh, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I know that, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs do in fact play the New York Giants, and I feel like that's going to be a game where this is actually going to be a desperate Chiefs team for once, and they're going to come out swinging against the Giants. But who would have thought we'd be talking about this at this point in the season? The Chiefs of all teams are sitting at 0 and 2 right now, and odds are heavily against them to make the Super Bowl again this year. It's just kind of wild thinking about that because usually the Chiefs don't really have that kind of a sluggish start to their season, but they are now. And it might wind up costing them in the long run too, because obviously this week, you know, they play the Giants. They play the Baltimore Ravens the following week. Sure, you're playing in Kansas
this
City.
year because
Wait, what?
oh, sorry, I for some my internet.
Oh God, not this too.
I know, like it hasn't happened in months, and now all of a sudden, when we're only doing a duo show, it decides to act up again. But no, what I was saying briefly, before I cut out was if there's a year for the Bills to finally get the number
Hmm.
one seed,
Yep, this
this
is it.
is the year
This is it.
because Kansas City's 0-2. You already have the tiebreaker against Baltimore.
Yep. You have the tiebreaker against Baltimore. Yep. There's plenty more to it as well if Ben's internet would actually work. But that's also because the schedule for the Chiefs is just abysmal. After they play Baltimore, they have to play Jacksonville, then they have to play Detroit, then they play the Commanders 2 weeks from then, and then they play the Bills.
Cincinnati really shouldn't be even in contention for that one seed.
Nope. Not even for the AFC North either.
Or
If Ben
yep, yeah. Sorry, I had to close some tabs out. But yeah, for Cincinnati shouldn't be in the conversation.
No, they won't be. They won't even be a contingent for the division. You have a better chance of Pittsburgh winning the division than you do Cincinnati at this point. You might need to close more tabs there,
The
Ben. Your internet's trying to kill you all over again.
AFC definitely.
Hot take though, Jags are still going to win the AFC South, straight up. Like, there's no way. The Colts are going to fall off at some point. Houston's not going to recover. Jags are going to win the AFC South, like I said earlier in the year. How'd you fix it?
Still, hopefully, yeah. I still think it could be the
As soon as
Colts,
I
but yeah,
said it.
Houston, I don't think will be there. Now, a team that actually is looking, a team that's actually looking scary good right now is the Chargers. Like, we'll
Hmm.
have to see how it ends up. Like, it is legit.
It's nice to see them actually looking as good as they do. Like, it really is.
Yeah, I don't know how long Khalil Mack is going to be out, but that Chargers team is legit, and it
Hmm.
finally looks like they have a passing offense for the first time in forever. Now, the run game isn't as good as I think everyone expected because of how good it was last year. And Marion Hampton hasn't really had a massive game yet, but it's only 2 weeks into the season, and I know a lot of people are already trying to say that this year's running back class was extremely overhyped, but it's only week 2. Like, before you
Hmm.
go and trash Ashton Genty, I mean, like, we talked about Caleb Johnson earlier, but Bashal Tutin looks really good so far, and it still is only 2 weeks through the season. So I'm not gonna say I'm out on a Marion Hampton or anyone else there.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh yeah. No. But I do have some interesting breaking news for you if you want to hear it.
sure.
It just happened a minute ago. It just broke. So I don't know if you've heard about former Patriots linebacker Jawad Bentley. Spent 7
Okay.
seasons in New England. Wasn't actually half bad for a while. Got released. Well, he just now officially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers onto their practice squad. Fitting as they literally play New England this week. So that's going to just be more intel. And there he goes. He died. But yes, it's actually fairly interesting to hear that Jawan Bentley has just now joined Pittsburgh's practice squad. That's a big, big move. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, hopefully Ben's internet will kick back on in a little while because it just happens to do that from time to time. Out of all the quick takes, let's actually get into the main point of discussion, which is this week's game against the Dolphins. Lord have mercy. This game's going to be over by the half. At least that's how I feel it's going to be. You've got a Miami team that's so desperate to win a football game coming into the town of the guy that literally owns you it's going to be absolute curtains by probably the half. There he is. Right as I said it too. Ben, are you alive? I'll take the twitching as a yes or a no, or like a halfway. But oh my lord, have mercy. It's gonna be a slaughter. That oh, there he is.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess let's get into
Yeah,
Sunday's game, and we
I
can talk
actually did.
Thursday's game in a bit. So we talked about last week how a key would be stopping the run and preventing Justin Fields from using his legs.
Oh yeah, talking about
And
actually that makes me think. That makes me think. How many rushing yards did Justin Fields even get on the ground last week against the Bills? Yeah, he actually only wow, limited to only 49 yards on 5 rushing attempts. Brees Hall only had 10 carries for 29 yards. So to Ben's point, that was actually quite a good show when it came to stopping the run. They did the old Steeler mantra a lot better than the Steelers did the previous week when they let Brees Hall go absolutely bananas on their defense. So that's something that's very, very interesting to know. You beat them 30-10, but when you look at it on the stat sheet, it looks a lot worse than it actually is. Justin Fields, 3 for 11, 27. My God, like that stat line doesn't even feel real. Like that actually feels disgusting. You look at just how badly you beat an opponent, and you see a quarterback rating like that, you just go, wow, we kind of demoralized them. And that's exactly what the Bills did. No better way to kind of walk in there and just absolutely delete a divisional opponent. Usually you don't see that too often, but in this case it happened. Absolutely never ever let off the gas. Yeah, Justin Fields, the entire game, 3 for 11, 27 yards, 2.5 yards on average, no touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked twice, a rating of 39.6 per ESPN. You had Tyrod Taylor step in late in the game. He actually threw the same amount of passes as Justin Fields, but he completed 7 of them for 56 yards and a touchdown. Sure, it came late, but at the same time, you still made the Jets look sad. Like unbelievably sad, and it's actually kind of a great thing. Like when you embarrass a divisional opponent, it that's a win that goes a long way to establishing who is going to be in charge of the division. Ah, there he is again.
yeah,
Take
hopefully,
take 3, third time's a charm.
hopefully third time's a charm. I did restart, so hopefully my
That'll help.
computer hopefully my computer runs smoothly. We don't have any issues for the rest of the show, but yeah, back to Sunday's game. I'm not sure exactly what you talked about. Joey
Just
Bosa,
that just that did you see Justin Fields' stat line on the whole game? 3 for
yeah,
11, 27
yeah,
yards.
he had like the lowest QBR in quite some time. It was like 1 point something, but
1.1. You know how
Joey Bosa,
embarrassing that
yeah,
is?
that is pathetic. Joey Bosa was unreal in that game. He looked like the player that the Bills brought him in to be.
I would
I
say the
really
gamble
don't have any
worked.
yeah, I don't have any complaints on the defense after a shaky week 1. But like I
That's
said
still
last
Baltimore.
yeah, exactly. Like I said last week, let's see how they make adjustments.
Mhm.
It's only week 1. It's early in the
Yep.
season.
And it
They
was
really
one of the
haven't
best
played a lot
offenses
of
in the
ball
entire
together,
league.
if not the best offense in the
Yep.
entire league. Well, maybe
Very
besides the Bills, but it's
good
one
pace
of
for
them.
it.
It
Top
you have
5 at least.
I would go as I would say at least top 3, probably
Mhm.
top 2. I would say it's
I
Bills, Ravens, however you like to rank it, are probably the top 2 offenses in the league. But I mean, I had no complaints from the defense. You like to see that. Now, Thursday's game should be interesting because
Oh,
which
yeah.
we'll get to it more in a little bit, but
Oh, Lord,
the
yeah.
secondary still has had some lapses in coverage. There were some open guys that Fields missed, and Tua does do a better job of getting the ball out and not holding it. He's better. He's actually, if you look at his numbers, Tua is better when he releases the ball quicker. So it's going to be up to the Bills to take care of his first read
Mhm.
to because he's more of a spot thrower. So you got to have guys in the spot. So it throws him off his first read. Now, the Dolphins' offensive line is a complete disaster, and the Jets
Mhm.
actually did a very good job of shutting down the Steelers' pass rush week
Don't
one.
remind me.
And the Bills honestly did a much better job, I think, getting the fields and creating pressure. So if I believe if the Bills can do what they did Sunday on Thursday night, they should have a really good opportunity to have another great defensive performance.
Oh,
But
Lord.
Miami always plays the Bills close at least once a year, so you got to expect it, especially with them starting 0-2. They're
Oh, yeah,
probably going to
they
come
are.
out super desperate.
Yeah.
So for all the Bills fans, and I know Miami fans are kind of feeding into it, I don't think Thursday's game is going to be as big of a blowout. I still expect the Bills to win, but you always have to expect Mike McDaniel to have some tricks up his sleeve, especially coming to Buffalo, where they have not won in Buffalo in, I believe, 9 years. I think 2016 would have been the last time they won in Buffalo. That was the game that Jay Ajayi absolutely
Oh,
murked the
Jay
Bills
Ajayi.
defense. I believe it was Christmas Eve, if I'm not mistaken, or the 20. It was either the day before Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve. But I remember watching that game because the Bills were still mathematically alive for the playoffs at that point, and then Jay Ajayi just completely crushed the Bills' hopes and dreams. And Rex Ryan was also a complete dumbass and punted. I think it was on like the 40-yard line or something in overtime. I'm like, come on, like, are you seriously gonna like give them the ball back when you may not even get the ball back? Because I think there's only maybe like 5 or so minutes left in the overtime at that point. But I mean, that's why Rex Ryan hasn't been coaching in the National Football League since that
Mhm.
season. But yeah, just back to Sunday's game. It's nice to have a game where Josh Allen really doesn't need to put the cape on and do everything. He still made plays. He, he used his legs. He had some really great scrambling plays. And I mean, he started out a little bit slow and then
Good lord, to Bill's credit, or, to Ben's credit there,
he
Jay Ajayi had 206 rushing yards
kind
that game.
of got into a rhythm and he completed like 8 his next 10 passes.
Oh, it was going so well for, like, a solid 5 minutes, but, yeah, the Bills have not lost to Miami in Buffalo since 2016, when Jay Ajayi went for, like, 200 something odd yards.
Yeah,
I
and
don't I
hopefully
don't
it
think that's
continues.
happening again.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big key is obviously stopping Achan.
Mhm.
If Miami can't get a run game going, it's going to be a long day. And I know Joe Chad is talking about how the Bills allow the most yards per carry, but a lot of that was from week one. And if you
Mhm.
look at how they did against Brees Hall and Fields last week, Fields had one long scramble play, which ultimately didn't end up even leading to points because the Jets still had to punt on that possession where he had that crazy 27-yard scramble where he just pretty much ran around the entire Bills defense. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say about Sunday's game. Joey Bosa was awesome. James Cook
Mhm.
proved why
Yeah, it's good that they
the
paid James Cook.
Bills needed to sign him.
Oh, yeah. No, it's I was saying it all off season. I was like, "For the love of God, y'all gotta sign James Cook. Like, sign this man right now. He's literally what made this offense go last year." even though nobody's like, "Oh, it was Josh Allen throwing to Shakir." I'm like, "No, no, it was the fact that you had James Cook able to establish a dominant run game behind a stout offensive line to make Josh Allen not have the pressure to constantly be Superman and literally even give the cape itself to James Cook." And he did it again in that game against the Jets. Josh Allen went 14 for 25, 148 yards through the air, no TDs or interceptions, sacked one time, QBR of 83.8, overall rating of 73.4. I mean, Josh Allen looked very average. The team carried him, which I actually like a lot. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to see the team carry Josh Allen for once instead of Josh Allen carrying the team like he did against Baltimore. Literally put the whole team on his back and said, "We are winning this game, and I don't care what you think about it otherwise." So, in that regard, it's just really nice to see that the team stepped up all around. You had James Cook go for over 100 yards, 132 yards to be exact. And I'm pretty sure he broke a Bills record in terms of rushing in that game, too. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I know he broke a record in particular. I don't, like I said, I don't remember what it was, but he did something that was like really incredible. But oh man, if he could do that again, that would just be amazing. Like, James Cook is really like becoming the engine of the offense. He's giving Josh Allen the break so Josh Allen doesn't have to just consistently carry this team. And as long as you've got the same thing on the defensive side of the ball consistently, then this team is definitely going to be in great contention for the one seed. Oh, here it is.
I'll say
James Cook is the first Bills running back with a rushing touchdown in 6 consecutive games since 1988. Yeah, see,
wow.
this is why I was saying earlier. I'm like, yeah, see, I'm
That
glad we
seems
signed him.
like that would have been before Thurman Thomas, if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken.
yep.
Who was the
I
last?
believe
But
you're
who
right.
was that running back? If you know.
I don't know actually. I actually just saw it. I looked it up from the Bills Twitter because they posted the video. They posted the photo after he did it. First Bills running back with rushing touchdown in 6 consecutive games since '88. Incredible to think about, really, and just overall, unbelievably incredible to think about James Cook and his contributions to the team. He's going to be just as important against Miami because there's no way that you can accurately establish an offensive attack against them without just attacking their weak run defense. Because if I remember correctly, in the games Miami has played to this point, and there goes Ben again. Hopefully this time it'll get fixed. But in the games Miami has played, they allowed the Patriots defense to hold Devon Achane to 11 carries for only 30 yards. 30 yards out of your best running back and one of the better running backs in the entire league. Even when they played against the Colts in week 1, Devon Achane only had 55 yards. If you're going to hold the Dolphins, and you're going to hold Devon Achane, basically make him a non-factor in this game, then James Cook absolutely has to be the X factor in this game, because then you just chew the clock and you make their lives miserable by just running it down, watching their hopes die on the vine and watching them scramble to rebuild this team. Because if you want my opinion, I think if the Bills, not saying it will happen, but if the Bills absolutely destroy the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, I would not be shocked if Mike McDaniel is fired on the spot. If they get destroyed, which I
Yeah,
don't think will happen. But if it happens, I think both him and Chris Greer should get fired on the spot. I don't know if you're back yet, Ben, or heard any of that, but
I
if you
heard
did hear
most of it.
that,
Yeah, I
you
agree
heard,
that. Yeah, I agree. If the Bills get rolling and it's another another loss for Miami. They start 0-3. I'm not sure what the rest of their. I think they play the Jets on Monday Night Football the next week, which honestly that should be flex
Yeah,
to
they do.
QB. Like,
Yeah,
oh
you ain't
man,
kidding.
brother, what are we doing? Like, week 4 of Monday Night Football is potentially going to be two 0-3 teams fighting for their first win of the season.
Yep.
Oh man.
Disastrous. I don't want to watch that. Who wants to watch that? But no,
I
see,
mean,
I'm
the
telling
Bills
you.
have some injuries, but the nice thing is, I believe they play the Saints
Oh
after
yeah, yeah, they
Miami,
do.
so they have 10 days off. They could also probably let some guys rest for that Saints game. And then I believe they play Carolina after that.
No, it's the
New
Patriots.
England. Oh,
Yeah, so
New
it's the Saints in week 4,
England.
Patriots in week 5, traveling
New
to
England.
Atlanta in week 6, and their win is internet again. But
Then Carolina, right? Then
uh, it's
Atlanta.
like,
So I
yeah,
mean,
no,
you like
there he goes again. But no, it after Miami, they go. They're playing the Saints in week 4, staying at home to play New England in week 5, going to Atlanta to play the Falcons in week 6. Then you have the bye, and then you play Carolina in Carolina. So I think what will be crucial is just coming out of week 3 and the rest of those games with no injuries. You have the bye to heal anything that actually happens. So at that point, you just pray that there's no like serious injuries because it's a very nice setup for the Bills if you think about it after Miami, because you got the Saints who are 0-2 and are genuinely going to be probably the worst team in the league unless Miami decides to say, hold my beer, watch this. Then you got New England, who has looked iffy in the first 2 weeks. I know that, they're 1-1, but that first loss that they had was to the Raiders. I don't really know if I want to call the Raiders a good team yet.
okay, I switched to my phone just so we could finish this.
I,
Can you
I
hear
was,
me? Can you hear me fine?
oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So what I was actually saying while you were doing that, Ben, was just a little bit more going over what happens after week 3 because Miami week 3, next week after that is the Saints, which are playing at home, which is big.
right.
Your next 3 games this week, the week after, next week, and then the week after are all at home. That's a big bonus. Plus, week 5
Yeah.
you play the Patriots, which I'm not sold on them yet. I don't know what kind of a team they're going to be. Week 6, you travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Then you have your bye week. Then you travel to Carolina to play the Panthers. So that's a
I mean,
nice stretch
the
in
bye
terms
week
of.
actually, yeah, it is. And I think if you're looking at the toughest game there, I mean, I'm not going to discount the Patriots. Like you said, I don't think we know what they are yet.
We
But
don't.
that Atlanta game, if you're looking at the schedule, that actually might be one of the tougher games out of the first 6 weeks. But if the even if the Bills, I mean, I would love to go 6-0, don't get me wrong, but
Oh, yeah.
even even if we're able to go 5-1 there, you get your bye week, you're gonna get reinforcements on defense at that point because I'm guessing Maxwell Harrison should be almost about good to come back. I'm not sure how long Ed Oliver and Milano will be out, but let's just say they they should be fully healthy by that point, and then you're getting Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi back,
Hmm.
and you give them a bye week, so they kind of have an extra week of practice to get ready for their first game action of the season because both of them are coming off of suspension. So that's really the first time well it is the first time we're going to see them on the Bills defense. Do you have the schedule after the bye week? Who do we play after the bye week?
Actually, yeah, I do. So once,
Is it
y-
Tampa?
well, yeah, so you'll play Tampa. We play Tampa week 11. So
Oh,
in
week
between
11.
then,
So,
yeah, so the
yep.
bye is in week 7. The next game immediately after the bye is in Carolina against the Panthers. Week 9 is the game against the Chiefs. That will be
Okay, that's a
an
big game.
interesting game. Yeah. Then
I
week
mean,
10.
if the Chiefs potentially have 3 losses at that point, you could really bury their season as far as any hopes and dreams of
Oh,
having the
brother,
1
that
seed because
oh,
they
yeah. I mean,
basically need to win out after that, but
mhm.
I if we are to see them at the end of the season, I would actually rather lose them in the regular season,
Same.
so we
That's what I've
beat
been
them
saying
when
to
it
everybody.
matters,
Yep.
but I still would like to see, I still would like to see just maybe 1 or 2 losses through that first 11 games, like, I think just looking at the Bills' schedule, I'm hopeful that they can maybe end 14-3 or 13-4, but obviously, we gotta just take it 1 week at a time, and I think that's the Bills' mentality, and I'll just say quickly about Sunday's game, I know a lot of people were expecting the Jets to give them some trouble, especially after how the Jets looked week 1 and how the Bills look week 1 on defense,
Mhm.
but you gotta give credit to Sean McDermott and the Bills coaching staff because there was an opportunity for a big emotional letdown after the type of win you
Oh,
had
yeah.
on Sunday. So the fact that they came out ready to play and they really weren't playing around with the Jets, like sometimes the Bills can play around with their food, so to say, and they'll let
Mhm.
these teams that are obviously lesser in talent with them stick around in games, but really after the first quarter, like the Jets were never in that game. Even in the first quarter, like the Bills went up 7-0, which largely was helped out due to that Michael Clemens unnecessary roughness penalty. But
Mhm.
the very next possession, Joey Bosa had that forced fumble. The Bills then went up 10-0. I believe they what was it, 13-0 before that the first of the James Cook touch or the I believe it was James Cook's second touchdown, right? Because I think he scored the first touchdown of the game. Because if memory serves correctly, they had 2 James Cook or touchdowns before Elijah Moore got on the board in the second half. But at that point, I mean, the Bills were in control of the game. So I mean,
Mhm.
for selfish reasons, I wish they passed more just so I could get some more Josh Allen fantasy points because I ended up losing
Same.
one of my fantasy matchups where I had Josh Allen at quarterback. But I mean, the Bills don't really care about that at the end of the day. They're just focused on winning, so you got to give them credit. I think with how bad Miami's secondary is, this is a big opportunity for Josh Allen to put up some monster numbers, especially if he's trying to win a consecutive MVP. But I don't think that really
Mhm.
matters to Josh this season. I think he's just focused on winning games, getting that 1 seed, and going into the postseason healthy so they can finally hopefully set themselves up for their first Super Bowl run since the '90s. And
Yeah, first
some
real Super Bowl run where you don't have your own boogeyman in the way. It would be
right.
big, like,
It
very
still
big.
would be nice to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs because if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs or some other team, say, knocks them out and the Bills do win the Super Bowl, you're always probably going to hear the critics say, oh, well, he didn't even have to face Mahomes to get there, which
Mhm.
I honestly wouldn't care about just
No one
since
would.
I think that it obviously would be more so the critics than Bills Mafia
Oh, of
that would
course.
care about it. But yeah, I mean, let's try to get to 3-0. You set yourself up great, not only for the division, but for the
Mhm.
1 seed. I mean, Baltimore's probably the only team that's really going to give you a run for your money. Maybe the Chargers for that 1 seed. But I mean, we don't play the Chargers this season, but I think the Chargers are are going to get some more losses within their division just because
Oh, yeah,
they'll
they
have to
will.
play in Arrowhead. Like, I don't expect them to sweep the Chiefs.
I don't either.
Denver's probably going to split with them. I know some people were saying, "Oh, Denver doesn't look good," but Denver really didn't start out the season too strong last year. I think they were like 2-2 or something through their first 4 games. Like Bo Nix started slow to the season. The defense really didn't take off more towards the back half of the season. They do have a lot of new pieces on defense. So, I mean, for me, I think that the Bills really shouldn't have a lot of difficulty getting that one seed, but
You can only
obviously,
hope.
100%. Obviously, we're gonna see. Um, when we get there at the end of the season, we got a lot more games, and the
Oh
Bills. I
yeah.
mean, the Bills still have some tough opponents left on the schedule. Like we'll see what we'll get from New England. Even though the Chiefs started out slow, like they'll have Rashee Rice and probably Xavier Worthy back by the time they play the Bills, so they should have a lot more firepower on
Hmm.
offense by that point of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you got the Chiefs.
And
You'll have to.
I mean, Cincinnati, I guess we'll see what that game is. I mean, Philadelphia is looking
That's
a
gonna be
little
a.
weak, but their
That's
defense
gonna
is
be a tough
still
game.
nothing to play with. Yeah, and
Oh
that
yeah.
running game is going to give you issues with Jalen Hurts and Saquon
Saquon
Barkley.
Barkley. Yep,
So
for sure.
Tampa Bay looks to be
Oh
a
yeah.
handful. I mean,
Yeah,
Houston,
definitely.
the Bills never play well in Houston, so I mean, there are tough games on the schedule left. I know everyone's like, "Oh, the Bills have a pathetically easy schedule," and it's not super difficult, especially
Oh no,
considering
it's
they
not.
should. I mean, we've only played one divisional opponent, but at the very least, I think the Bills should go 5-1 in the division. At worst, I would say, but you still have to play these games out.
Hmm.
Divisional games are always close. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not gonna even count out Miami this week as far as them giving the Bills a game. I've said it pretty much the last several days. Like I said it earlier in the show too. I would rather Miami have beat New England just so they go into Buffalo 1-1 versus staring down the possibility of going 0-3. But I think the way the Bills operate is every game, they play one game at a time, so they're not looking ahead to the Patriots, they're not looking ahead to the Chiefs, to the Bucks, the Texans. Their focus is squarely on the Miami Dolphins, and they do have an
Mhm.
advantage playing that game at home. And if you look at Sean McDermott's record on Thursday night games, it is unbelievable. Like he's either undefeated as head coach of the Bills on Thursdays. If not, I believe he may have like only one loss on a Thursday. Because I know back in 2022 we played three Thursday games and we won all of them because the season opener was on a Thursday. We played New England in New England on a Thursday. We also played the Lions on Thanksgiving, which obviously is a Thursday. So just looking back this the last several years, Sean McDermott has done a great job of having the Bills prepared, ready to play on the short week. Then they'll have a couple extra days off to rest and recover, get ready for New England. But yeah, let's just have a good game. Let's no more injuries. I would like to see the defense
Mhm.
build off their momentum. I would like to
Oh
see
yeah,
some other guys on defense get involved in the pass rush other than Joey Bosa. Obviously, Ed
for
Oliver
real.
most likely isn't playing, but can Greg Rousseau, Javon Solomon, and I believe AJ Epinesa too, for that matter, are all I think bottom 20 in either pass rush win rate or pressures out of defensive ends. So those three guys need to step up. You can't rely
Oh yeah.
fully on Joey Bosa being your guy, but I think it's great that Joey Bosa has looked the way he has this season because every Bills fan was clamoring for whether it was Miles Garrett. Then we had
Yep.
the Trey Hendrickson train, and then it went to Micah Parsons. So all season, all
Mhm.
off season, up until basically Micah Parsons being traded to the Packers a week before the regular season, we wanted a premier pass rusher, and that's something we really haven't
Honestly.
had since Von Miller in 2022
Mhm.
before he tore his ACL, and he was looking
Yep.
like prime Von Miller for those uh, first eight or so games. And Joey Bosa looks the part. Like I think a lot of Bills fans entered the year with not massive expectations for Bosa just because he really hasn't been prime Joey for quite
Mhm.
some time. And part of it, I think, comes down to injuries. Part of it was
It
playing in
does.
Brandon Staley's defense. And if he can stay healthy, like that's a huge thing because he
Mhm.
right now is the Bills' most dominant pass rusher. And if he can continue putting together a type of season he is this year, and he stays healthy for the most part and contributes in the playoffs, I think bringing Bosa back on a 2 to 3 year deal is essential. Like I would pay Joey Bosa the way he's been playing because he's still only 30 years old. Like that's about the same age as Trey Hendrickson. That's about the same age as TJ Watt. And honestly, he's been as good as those guys to start the season, if
Oh
not
yeah.
better. Like
You,
I
it,
think I
you,
think
you
I saw a stat where TJ Watt hasn't had a sack in 6 consecutive games.
Yeah, that's right. It's big, but when you actually see how teams game plan for the Steelers defense, at least as it's been this season, the reason why is because most teams are, well,
Double teaming
especially
him.
the Jets, double, triple teaming TJ Watt, and their entire game plan is to either run their running back to the left or right, whichever way TJ Watt is on the field, run away from him.
Right.
And when you make a short pass, make sure that you have multiple guys covering the spot where TJ Watt is. So a lot of that is because teams are so focused on TJ Watt, and that's a whole other thing that I could talk about for another whole hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. It's a big old can of worms about how the Steelers just refuse to get any kind of second helping for TJ Watt, even with Alex Highsmith hurt. And their rookie Derek Harmon maybe potentially coming back from an MCL sprain sooner rather than later. It's still a fact that TJ Watt has no help out there. And what's more interesting is that you remember that very brief moment in time, Ben, where all the Bills fans thought that they would be trading for TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was that brief moment where everybody was like, "Oh, TJ Watt's unhappy about his contract situation in Pittsburgh." And right before Pittsburgh paid him, everybody in Buffalo was like, "TJ Watt is ours. Welcome to Buffalo, buddy." And then they wound up paying TJ Watt. But now it looks like you don't even really need to bother with that because Joey Bosa has been getting much more pressure by himself because I don't really believe teams are going to put that much of a game plan against only Joey Bosa like they do against only TJ Watt. So
Right.
the
And if
only
they
worry,
do,
oh yeah,
if
if
they
they
do,
do, then
Greg
you got Ed
Rousseau should
Oliver. Then you
yeah,
got Greg
or
Rousseau.
exactly. Greg Rousseau should start feeding off of that if teams decide to fully commit to, doing whatever it takes to stop Joey Bosa. Like you said, you have Ed Oliver. I mean, there's other
Which,
guys on the defense who've started to step up too. How about Zion Logue? Like, if I was
oh
to give
yes,
a an underrated player of the game from Sunday, it would have to be Zion Logue. I believe he had a
for sure.
sack. He had another deflected pass. And actually had the numbers here because I was talking about the Bills being so good on Thursday night. Josh Allen is 7-0 on Thursday nights in his career. I'm not sure
God
exactly
bless.
what Sean McDermott's record is specifically. Oh yeah, if I recall, he did lose a game to the Jets in 2017. I think that may have been their only Thursday game in 2017. But again, that was pre Josh Allen. So just specifically Josh Allen, this is from the Bills website actually. He averages 2.7 touchdowns per game on Thursdays, 107.4 passer rating. So expect Josh Allen to eat. That's good for all of us who have Josh Allen in fantasy. The
Oh, you got
Dolphins
that right.
defense looks pathetic right now.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to see the Bills defense keep up the positive momentum. Let's carry it over. Let's see the pass rush get to Tua. New England's pass rush absolutely dominated Tua, and that
Oh,
was
they
even with
did.
some injuries on defense because if I'm not mistaken, they were missing a pass rusher that game, and
You might be
Miami's
right.
Miami's offensive line is beat up. So let's see Joey Bosa obviously continue his strong start to the season. I'd like to see, like I said earlier, I'd like to see Greg Rousseau, Javon
Same.
Solomon, and AJ Epinesa start to contribute more. But I mean, I'm excited for this game. We don't have to wait until Sunday.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we're able to kick our feet up and have some nice hate watches on Sunday. I know the Chiefs play on Sunday Night Football against
The
the
Giants.
Giants, which
That'll be quite the hate
I
watch.
yeah, I wish they had a tougher game. to be honest with you, but we'll see. The Giants are also 0-2, and I believe that game is in New York. Yes, it
It
is.
is.
Broncos and Chiefs playing. That should be a very interesting game. Obviously, I already mentioned Texans and Jaguars. That's going to be a big game in the AFC South. Um,
Well, there is one you
and then
haven't
you
mentioned
have,
yet.
oh, was that the Jake Brown and Carson Wentz game?
Well, no, but that is going to be a very interesting game to watch as well because you're wondering just which backup quarterback is going to be worse. But no, no, no. You got to think about it as
Steelers
well. You
and
know, you got
Steelers and
that. That's what I was
Patriots.
about to say. Yes, Steelers
Okay,
against
yeah,
Patriots. The
because
Steelers against their daddy, the team that has owned
pretty
them
much.
for many, many, many years. And it's funny you brought up earlier about the Chiefs and how, oh, if the critics would say, oh, you didn't have to beat Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. No, I'm telling you from personal experience, that's exactly what the critics will say because that's exactly what they said about the 2006, the 2005 Steelers that won the Super Bowl, the 2008 Steelers that won the Super Bowl, and even the 2010 Steelers that didn't win but still got to the Super Bowl. Oh, you
Right,
didn't have to play Tom Brady in the entire postseason because every single time the Steelers had to play New England in the postseason, New England absolutely kicked their asses up and down the field. Just
right,
like how the Bills, whenever they've played the Chiefs, get their asses beat up and down the field in the postseason. So the comparisons are actually exactly the same, and it's kind of scary. So that was just something I thought was interesting that you had touched on earlier, but I wanted to kind of tell you that, yeah, the critics will indeed say that if the Bills make the Super Bowl and never see Kansas City the whole way. But in terms of just straight up hate watches in week one, yeah, Steelers Patriots is going to be one for sure because you just got to hope the Steelers win. That way it will knock the Patriots down to 1-2, giving you
right,
at that point a two division lead if you beat the Dolphins. So, and one other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on because you said it earlier. So there is a potential chance going into the Bills game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I don't know if this is going to actually happen, but I genuinely believe that there is a chance that by week 9, the Bills, who could very well, let's just say, everything goes well, like completely perfectly, the Bills could be 7-0 entering week 9 against a Chiefs team that is at worst 2-6 and in complete panic
mm-hmm,
mode because this would be, they lost to the Ravens, they lost to the Jaguars, they lost to the Lions, and they lost to the Commanders before they play the Bills. That would be a team in desperation mode, and that's the worst kind of team, especially on one like the Chiefs. So 2-6 or 3-5, if they happen to beat Jacksonville, is still quite the thing to think about. I'm not saying it will happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's wild to think about. We could very well be in that position. But
right,
it all comes down to one game at a time because, as you said it earlier, this Bills team seems to not look ahead to opponents. They go 1 week at a time. It's because you learned from the Steelers in 2017, who looked ahead twice and on both occasions got their asses beat before they could even get to the game they were looking ahead to. Because in 2017, the Steelers, all they wanted to do was beat New England in the playoffs, and they lost in round one
right,
to Jacksonville. So you can't look ahead because if you look ahead, that happens and you lose. So that's something that, you know, that's a team thing. Obviously, fans have no control over this kind of stuff. So you just have to kind of roll with it. Whatever happens, happens. But at the same time, you can't always just be going, man, I'm looking forward to this game right here because you'll end up dropping a few that you shouldn't have because you were thinking of another game. But I don't think they'll look ahead. They will be looking over Miami at any point, even though they are 0-2 and look like a bottom 5 team in the league. My only hope is that if the Bills clobber them, I'm going to give it maybe a 20% chance of happening. But if they clobber the Dolphins to where they have to start Zach Wilson of all people in the fourth quarter because they're playing that bad, like you wake up on either Friday or Saturday and you see, oh, the Dolphins have fired both Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, and then they decide to just blow it all up and start over. The worst thing that you could see is they trade Tyreek Hill back to the Chiefs. That would royally suck.
Yeah,
But my personal hope for my Yinzer alter ego is that they take Devon Achane. Omar Khan calls him up on the phone again and says, "Hey, what do you want for Achane? We'll take him." And they do just that. And Achane is in Pittsburgh, giving that team a run game again because they currently don't have one right now.
sure.
But
So
they'll if
go
they fall
ahead.
apart, it'll be fun to watch. Like that'll be
Right.
more fun than just beating them. We'll just be watching them fall apart. But
Yeah,
anyway,
let's briefly let's get back to this game on Thursday. So obviously, matchups to watch are going to be every Bills pass rusher against this Miami offensive line. I think it's
which
going to
is
be
bad.
interesting to see how the Bills secondary holds up,
Oh
and
yes.
Josh Allen versus Miami's defense or secondary. Speaking of secondary, but do you have any other thoughts about Thursday's game as we look to wrap up tonight?
Well, you did say it about the secondary, and I agree with you. This is a game where I feel like you should see more of the secondary really get involved in making plays, whether it is in the backfield or whether you actually do have some of those wild trick plays where you send a safety or a corner blitz, like you saw yesterday, like how you saw Sunday when Cole Bishop actually registered a sack. I want to see that. Like, I want to see some trickery. I want to see Cole Bishop just getting more involved, period. Because this is the part where if Cole Bishop has another great game, I think we can finally
Hmm.
go, okay, yeah, Cole Bishop is not really that bad of a player, is he? Where everybody wanted to
No.
jump all over him. Now it's like, oh, a little too soon, huh? Another one I could think of would be on the offensive side of the ball would be Dalton Kincaid. I feel like this would be another great game to get him involved, especially on either quick routes or medium passing or just in the medium passing game. Just anything to get him going, get him involved against a secondary that is really bad. I mean, you got Rasul Douglas, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally it. Like, you got all
Yes.
the opportunity in the world to attack downfield. Like, I'm not even kidding. When it comes to fantasy, if you look at it from that perspective, I could genuinely argue that you find any of the Bills receivers like Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, if he's somehow on someone's waiver wire, which I would doubt, or Dawson Knox, even, because I feel like
Hmm.
all of the Bills' offense is going to have a big day. And it's like I said, that 20% chance if Miami absolutely craters and the Bills blow them out, like you saw that one year, 35-0,
Hmm.
Lord have mercy. That's why in one of my leagues, I'm thinking about picking up the Bills defense on waivers because that might be a really sneaky good pick. They might wind up either one, pitching a shutout, or two, sacking Tua upwards of five, maybe six times if they happen to play all their cards right. I am looking forward to it, is all I'll say. Like, it should be a fun game, especially if you're one of those crazy people like me that enjoys watching a team get absolutely annihilated. Not saying it'll happen, but fingers are crossed.
100%. Well,
Now,
that
in
should
your case,
go ahead.
do you have
Hmm.
any final thoughts of your own, Ben?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that should do it tonight. Thank you again for everyone for tuning in. So this has been another edition of the Undercovers podcast.
Oh,
And
yeah.
follow and like and subscribe and go Bills.
Go Bills.